Welcome back to First Take. Giannis Antetokounmpo making headlines yesterday. Shams Charania reported that Giannis and his agent were having conversations with the Bucks and discussing whether Giannis's best fit is in Milwaukee or elsewhere.
Giannis Antetokounmpo made one thing clear at Media Day before the season. He said, "I want to be on a team that allows me and gives me a chance to win a championship." That's a direct quote.
The San Antonio Spurs are reportedly pursuing one of the most insane trades in NBA history. And if they pull it off, the entire league is going to have a problem.
This was the one Giannis trade that would actually break the NBA, and within hours, it's on the verge of happening. The only realistic team that acquiring Giannis makes them unbeatable. And here we go. And by the way, if you want to stay updated on the NBA, make sure you're following. The Spurs are aggressively pursuing Giannis right this second. As in, we will be seeing Giannis and Wemby, the two craziest physical specimens in recent history, on the same team.
Try to slow the advance a little bit. The loaded understand how important you are.
And here's the problem. If the Spurs want him, there's no stopping them because they have the craziest set of young assets outside of OKC in the entire league.
We're talking about pairing Giannis Antetokounmpo with Victor Wembanyama to create what could be the most dominant frontcourt basketball has ever seen. The Spurs apparently have the assets to make this happen, and they're expected to aggressively pursue it. This isn't just rumor mill speculation anymore. Multiple sources are reporting that San Antonio is positioning themselves to land Giannis, and the package they can offer is better than anyone else's.
If I'm the San Antonio Spurs, the Milwaukee Bucks phone number is the only number I know going forward because the second I see Shams tweet out Giannis requests a trade, I'm immediately calling the Bucks and not letting them hang up until Giannis is in San Antonio. Because think about it, Wemby, Fox, and then Giannis, that big three would immediately make the Spurs the second best team in the West. They would be the biggest threat to OKC for the title. Now, it will be pricey, okay? You got to be comfortable giving up possibly a Castle and or Harper, of course, a boatload of first-round picks on top of it. And you might argue it's too early in this rebuild to take a big swing. No, it's not. Okay, you never know when your window is. And besides, that's the price you're going to have to pay for a Giannis caliber of a player, MVP in his prime.
Do you think the Spurs should trade multiple young assets and picks to pair Giannis with Wembanyama, or keep building through the draft? Let's start with the obvious. Victor Wembanyama is one of the best players in the world right now. Giannis Antetokounmpo is one of the best players in the world. The idea of putting those two together on the same team is absolutely terrifying for the rest of the league.
A frontcourt of Wemby and Giannis? Who says no? Spurs receive Giannis and the Bucks receive 2 players and 3 picks, including this year's second overall pick. Would this make the Spurs instant contenders? Either way, I'd like to see it.
We're talking about 2 7-footers who can handle the ball, pass, shoot, defend at an elite level, and dominate games in ways that nobody else can. If the Spurs manage to pull this trade off, they instantly become championship contenders and probably favorites.
But I think by far, the best package that the Bucks would actually accept is San Antonio. Giannis and Victor Wembanyama together. 2 bigs, but Wemby has shown that he is a good enough shooter to space the floor and make it work. In fact, one of the few teams where Giannis wouldn't be the best player on many nights. But the reason it's so likely is this. SA has 2 killer young guys that the Bucks would want. Dylan Harper and Stephon Castle. Would be very hard to compete with either of those guys as the centerpiece to a trade.
The reported framework of what San Antonio can offer is genuinely impressive. They've got a treasure chest of young talent and draft picks that would make any rebuilding team salivate. The names being floated include Keldon Johnson, Jeremy Sohan, Stephon Castle, Dylan Harper, and Harrison Ingram. Plus, they've got multiple future first-round picks, including Atlanta's picks for 2027, 2029, and 2031. That's a haul that the Bucks can actually build around if they decide Giannis wants out. The crazy part is that even after trading for Giannis, the Spurs would likely still have 2 of their 3 main young guards. They'd keep 2 out of Stephon Castle, Dylan Harper, and whoever else survives the trade. That means their starting 5 could realistically look like Castle and Harper in the backcourt, Devin Vassell at the 3, Giannis at the 4, and Wemby at the 5. That's an absurd amount of length, skill, and defensive versatility. Good luck scoring on that team.
So the deal, Spurs get Giannis for Dylan Harper, Kelly Olynyk, Harrison Barnes, control of 4 first-round picks. And never mind that those are all insanely valuable picks. But Spurs fans actually say no. That's how you know it's a good trade. They would much rather keep Harper and trade Castle, but that's actually why this works. If the whole NBA is bidding, you have to get uncomfortable to win this deal.
Now, the package going out would probably include Keldon Johnson, Jeremy Sohan, at least one of the young guards, and multiple first-round picks. There's also speculation that the Spurs might have to take on Kyle Kuzma's contract to make the money work. Some people will groan at that, but honestly, Kuzma as your fourth or fifth best player on a contender isn't terrible. He's overpaid, sure, but he can score and he's not a complete disaster defensively. You can live with that if you're getting Giannis in return. The picks being discussed are significant, but not franchise-crippling. Atlanta's 2027 first, the Spurs own 2029 first, and maybe their 2031 first. That's a lot of draft capital, but here's the thing. If you're getting Giannis Antetokounmpo to pair with Victor Wembanyama, who cares about draft picks in 2029? You're trying to win championships now and for the next 5 to 7 years while both guys are in their primes. Draft picks are valuable, but they're not more valuable than an actual superstar who's proven he can carry teams to titles.
Giannis inside, and there's Wembanyama blocking the MVP. 79 straight games with a block. Castle missed it on the other end.
That was an all-world effort there. Just couldn't quite find the right angle off the glass.
Giannis, and another block! Back-to-back on the Bucks star. Vassell for 2.
The question everyone keeps asking is whether Giannis and Wemby can actually play together. It's a fair question. Both guys need the ball. Both guys operate best with space around them. Both guys are used to being the focal point of their team's offense. But here's the counterpoint. Do they really need to fit perfectly? You've got 2 of the 10 best players on the planet. You figure it out. Great coaches and great players make things work. The Spurs have a good coach in Greg Popovich's successor, and they'd have 2 generational talents. You make it work. The fit concerns are probably overblown anyway. Giannis has shown he can play off the ball when needed. He's not just a bulldozer to the rim. He can pass, he can finish lobs, he can defend all over the floor. Wemby is one of the most versatile offensive players in the league already. He can shoot, post up, face up, handle in transition. These aren't 2 plodding centers who need the ball in the post to be effective. These are 2 modern superstars with complete games. They'll figure it out. One hilarious aspect of this potential trade is that the Spurs would probably have to give Giannis Antetokounmpo a roster spot to sweeten the deal for Giannis. That's peak NBA nepotism right there. Giannis is a nice story and all, but he's not exactly a rotation player on a contending team. But if that's what it takes to land Giannis, you do it without hesitation. Give Giannis the last roster spot, let him cheer from the bench, and move on with your championship aspirations. The comparison to past mega trades is interesting because the NBA has become more cautious about giving up massive hauls after seeing how some of those deals worked out. The Rudy Gobert trade, where the Timberwolves gave up a mountain of picks, set a new standard, and not in a good way. Teams watched that trade and thought, maybe we shouldn't mortgage our entire future for one player. But Giannis isn't Rudy Gobert. Giannis is a 2-time MVP, a champion, a finals MVP, and still in his prime. He's worth more picks than almost any player in the league. The Thunder are the perfect example of why hoarding picks and being patient can work. For years, people said they needed to trade all those picks for a star. They didn't. They drafted well, and now they're one of the best teams in the league with a young core that's only getting better. But the Spurs are in a different position. They already have their generational talent in Wemby. They don't need to wait and hope they draft another one. They can go get a proven superstar right now and compete immediately. The debate about which young player to include in the trade is fascinating. Would you rather keep Stephon Castle or Dylan Harper? Castle is probably the better player right now. He's more NBA ready, he defends at a high level, and he's shown he can contribute on a good team. Harper has higher upside in theory. He's got elite playmaking ability and scoring potential. But is that upside worth more than Giannis? Absolutely not. If the Bucks say, we want Harper instead of Castle, you make that deal without thinking twice. Some people are saying they wouldn't trade Dylan Harper for Giannis, which is genuinely insane. Harper might be really good. He might be a multiple-time All-Star, but he also might not be. He's a rookie who hasn't played a single NBA game yet. Giannis is a proven champion and MVP. You trade 10 Dylan Harpers for one Giannis, and you don't lose sleep over it. This isn't 2K where you're playing franchise mode for 15 years. This is real basketball, where you try to win now when you have the chance. The Spurs' ability to keep 2 of their 3 young guards, even after trading for Giannis, is what makes this deal so appealing for them. Most teams trading for a superstar have to gut their entire roster and hope the star can carry a bunch of minimum contract guys to contention. The Spurs would still have legitimate talent around Giannis and Wemby. They'd have Vassell as a proven shooter and scorer. They'd have 2 young guards who can handle the ball and defend. That's a real supporting cast. The defensive potential of a Giannis and Wemby frontcourt is legitimately unfair. You're talking about 2 guys who can switch onto guards, protect the rim, cover ground in transition, and disrupt passing lanes. How do you score on that? You'd need perfect execution on every possession. One mistake and you're getting blocked into the 3rd row or having your shot altered into a terrible look. That's the kind of defense that wins championships, especially in the playoffs when games slow down and half-court execution matters more.
Offensively, the attention that Giannis and Wemby would draw would create wide-open looks for everyone else. Defenses can't double both guys. If you commit extra help to Giannis driving, Wemby is wide open for a 3 or a lob. If you double Wemby in the post, Giannis has a runway to the rim. And both guys are good enough passers to find open shooters when defenses inevitably collapse. The ball movement and spacing would be elite, even without traditional floor spacing bigs. The fact that the Spurs aren't in the Eastern Conference actually helps them in trade negotiations. The Bucks would much rather send Giannis to the West, where they don't have to face him multiple times a year in the regular season and potentially in the playoffs. Trading a superstar within your own conference is always risky because you might create the team that knocks you out. Sending Giannis west eliminates that concern and makes the Spurs offer more attractive even if another team offers a similar package. The timeline also works perfectly for San Antonio. Wemby is 21 years old. Giannis is 30, but has shown no signs of decline. You'd have at least 5 years of both guys in their primes together. That's a legitimate championship window, especially if you keep developing the young talent around them. By the time Giannis starts declining, Wemby will be entering his absolute peak, and you can transition to him being the clear #1 option. That's smart roster construction. The comparison to other historic frontcourt duos is inevitable. Shaq and Duncan never played together, but this would be in that territory of talent. Tim Duncan and David Robinson is probably the best comp, and they won championships together. Giannis and Wemby are even more skilled and versatile than that duo was. The league has never seen 2 7-footers who can do everything at an elite level playing together. This would be unprecedented, and it would probably break basketball in the best way possible. The pressure on the Bucks to trade Giannis is real, even though they don't want to admit it publicly. They're not contending right now. Giannis is 30. They don't have the assets to build a championship roster around him quickly. If he asks out, they have to seriously consider getting value back rather than letting the situation deteriorate and losing him for nothing or trading him under duress for pennies on the dollar. The Spurs offering a king's ransom of young talent and picks is exactly the kind of return that makes trading a franchise icon palatable. The impact on the rest of the league would be immediate and severe. The Thunder are the best team in the West right now, but would they be better than a Spurs team with Giannis and Wemby? That's debatable at best. The Lakers and Warriors would suddenly be fighting for the play-in instead of dreaming about championships. The entire Western Conference hierarchy would shift overnight. Even in the East, teams would have to start planning for the Spurs in the finals, rather than worrying about whoever comes out of their own conference. The entertainment value alone makes this trade worth it. Can you imagine the highlights? Giannis throwing lobs to a 7'4" Wemby? Wemby blocking a shot and pushing it ahead to Giannis in transition. Both guys on the floor for crunch time in the playoffs, protecting the rim and switching everything? That's must-watch television. That's appointment viewing. That's the kind of basketball that draws casual fans and makes the sport grow. The NBA should be hoping this trade happens just for the storylines.
The only real argument against this trade from the Spurs' perspective is if you genuinely believe that keeping all the young assets and picks gives you a better chance to win long-term. Maybe you think Harper or Castle becomes a superstar and you don't need Giannis. Maybe you think Wemby plus patience is enough, but that's a massive gamble. Giannis is proven. He's available. He's exactly the kind of player you're hoping to draft with all those picks. You don't pass on proven greatness hoping to find it later. The fit between Giannis and Wemby on defense cannot be overstated enough. Teams are going to struggle to score 50 points and a half against those two manning the paint. The Spurs would instantly have the best defense in the league, and it wouldn't be close. Add in guys like Castle who can defend on the perimeter, and you're looking at a team that could legitimately hold opponents under 90 points in playoff games. Defense wins championships, and this trade would give San Antonio a defense that's literally never been seen before. The Spurs trading for Giannis to pair with Wembanyama would be the biggest trade in NBA history, and would instantly create the most terrifying frontcourt the league has ever seen. If San Antonio pulls this off, the entire Western Conference better start preparing for a new dynasty. The package they can offer is better than anyone else's, and the fit makes too much sense to ignore despite the concerns. Smash that like button if you think the Spurs should go all in on Giannis, and subscribe so you don't miss the fallout when this trade actually happens.